Hey, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're going to be taking a look at this guy here. This is the Kershaw Highball. This was a new release for 2020, and it's actually a knife that I'm pretty excited about. So let's jump right in with some size comparisons. So first off, got the Ontario Rat Model 2. So they're actually pretty comparable in size. Here's the Rat Model 1. Of course, Rat Model 1 is quite a bit bigger. This knife, by the way, its overall length is 6.75 inches with a blade length of 2.75. And we'll talk more about that later because I think that's a pretty interesting size. Here it is against the Civivi Praxis. And here it is against the Benchmade Bug Out. So still smaller even than a Bug Out. And get a couple more in here. Here it is against the Spyderco PM2, the Cold Steel 8015, and yes, I know I'm going to bring out a lot of size comparisons, but hey, I mean, you guys get to look at more knives. And here it is against the CJRB Feldspar. And another Kershaw. This is the bare knuckle. And while we're at it, let's compare it to let's see if a couple more Kershaws I have laying around. Yeah. This is the Mini Natrix, which it's pretty comparable to. And, yeah, here's one. Here's a interesting one. Here's the Kershaw Emerson CQ C11. So yeah, not a very big knife at all. Very, very small. This is an interesting knife. It is a stainless steel frame lock, D2 blade, clip point, and the price on this guy is about 40 bucks. So it's a budget knife, and I think it's a really, really compelling one at that. You have a ball bearing pivot, and the only way to open this knife is with this fuller here. And we'll talk about that more here in a sec. For now, let's go ahead and go cut some cardboard, and I'll talk about how this guy performs. Alright, let's break down this box using our Kershaw Highball. So, D2 blade, clip point. This is a beautiful blade in my opinion. We'll talk more about the finishing on it, but this is a very, very nice blade. Very thin blade stock. Ground pretty well, and with blade stock this thin, it cuts very, very well. I'm not sure exactly what the thinness behind the edge is. It's probably somewhere in that 18 to 20 thousandths, but the blade stock is thin enough that I think it'll probably make up for that. So we're going to break down just a small box because, again, small knife. And yeah, as you can see, slices very, very well. You know, some people will complain with fullers that stuff gets caught in there, and I can see that to a degree going on here, but it's not so bad. Not as bad as it could be. And especially like you saw right there, if you just focus on using the very tip, you can get through very, very nicely. All right. So, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Alright, let's get a little bit more in depth with this guy. First, let's talk about the carry. The clip, pretty standard, you know, steel clip. Not necessarily deep carry, but this is a small enough knife that it's pretty unobtrusive, and the dark gray color helps with that. Getting it in and out of the pocket is okay, as you can see there. It's got a little bit of grab, but it's not so bad. I've seen better, I've seen worse. the action. This is a very neat knife, and actually the reason I got this knife is because I saw a lot of places oh boy, I can't talk. I saw a lot of places marketing this as a two-handed knife, which I guess, I mean, you could totally use it as a two-handed knife. But, I mean, if you're skilled, this knife is just made for the Spidey flick. The fuller here is a little bit sharp, which means it catches your finger well, and it just rockets out there so nicely. Very, very nice action. And when it comes to thumb flicking, let's see. I have a little bit of trouble thumb flicking it because of the putting your finger on the frame lock, but sometimes I can get it. Yeah, with a little bit of wrist. But I think this is a knife that was just made for Spidey flicking. The size makes this a great knife to carry pretty much anywhere. It's very, very, very legal. Got some tape marks on there. I'll clean those off in a sec, but not before we cut some more cardboard. So this is another knife that I would consider to be, you know, kind of within that light EDC. And honestly, this kind of reminds me of a gentleman's knife. The blue accent right there on the pivot, very, very nice. Just the overall shape and low profile of this knife. I think this is a very, very interesting gentleman's knife. The ergonomics are actually very good. The handle has a pretty neutral shape in general. It's a little bit, not necessarily contoured, but it's got these chamfers across the top and the bottom that make it pretty hand-feeling, actually. It's got jimping up here that is functional and placed just right. This is exactly where I want jimping to be. So that's really, really nice. And this piece has too much tape on it. This one does too. Anyways, talking about ergos, I think the ergos are just fine. I think they really serve this knife well. D2 steel, I love seeing that. I love it when Kershaw makes D2 knives. You know, usually they use a lot of 8CR on their, especially, you know, their $40 and down. This knife falls in 40, 41 bucks. So I really like seeing D2 from Kershaw at that price. And yeah, as you can see, fantastic slicer. No problems there. Alright, I think that's about all we got here. Let's go back to the table and talk about what I do and don't like about this knife. Alrighty, Kershaw Highball. What do I like about it? Honestly, a lot. First off, I just want to say that I think the knife looks great. I think it looks fantastic. And I think that's because of a couple reasons. I love the blade shape. This clip point is very, very nice. The handle shaped really well. This blue accent and the pivot collar is really, really cool. And the blade finish is something I really like as well. So we've got like this gray up here to the fuller and this satin right here. And you see that a lot in knives with like a, you know, part black, part satin. I like this gray that kind of matches the handle. I think that's pretty cool. The handle itself is very smooth, not very much texturing going on. In fact, it's got like this almost a weird feeling that I don't know. It's got a weird texture to it, but it doesn't bother me too bad. You have a G10 backspacer with a lanyard post. I think that's pretty cool. I don't mind lanyard holes like some people. I don't necessarily use a lanyard all the time, but I don't mind a lanyard hole. But still, I know some people do. And so, if you do, this one's got the hidden post. I think the blade performs really, really well. You know, the fuller stuff can get caught in there. It is pretty sharp, but it's not so bad. And you know, I'm thinking of this as kind of a gentleman's EDC in a lot of ways. It's very small, very unobtrusive, you know, non-threatening, looks classy, and so I mean, if you're carrying this as a gentleman's knife, I mean, you're probably going to be, you know, cutting threads off your tuxedo sleeve and, you know, all that stuff. I carried this knife myself as both a, you know, primary EDC as well as a secondary EDC, and I really, really liked it as a secondary EDC a whole lot. You know, it's very small. You can tuck it away basically anywhere. And, well, honestly, just carrying this thing is really, really fun. The weight on this guy is, just a sec, where are my notes? Let me grab my computer. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. It's pretty lightweight. You know, it is a stainless steel frame lock, but it's pretty lightweight. No lock stick, smooth, you know, to operate. And that, the operation on this guy is, in my opinion, what makes this knife stick out. Because, I mean, how many other knives out there are a frame lock running on bearings that's basically a Spidey flick or two-hand opener only at the $40 price point? This is the only one I can think of. This is the only one I can think of. And this knife does, it honestly looks and feels a lot fancier than it is, if that makes sense. And I appreciate that a whole lot. Action, very, very nice, of course. Dialed in really well for that Spidey flicking we talked earlier. Sometimes you can thumb flick it. I'm not the best at thumb flicking this guy, as you can see there. But if you get your, I guess if you get your thumb jammed in there good enough, yeah, actually, you know what? I just figured out how to thumb flick this guy. There's a sweet spot. Yeah, heck, you can thumb flick it too. All right, so all that complaining I did about me personally not being able to thumb flick it, you can disregard that because I just figured it out. I'm so smart. Anyways, sarcasm. I think that's mostly what I can say about what I like about this guy. Very easy to carry, very unique. It is usable. I think it looks amazing. It's really, really pretty knife. And it comes at a price point that's very, very nice as well. I mean, the price matches the the overall niceness of this guy. And honestly, I could see this knife being made with titanium and S35VN or M390 or something, and being sold by, well, we'll just go with ZT since it's kind of Kershaw's high-end stuff. And I could see people still loving it there. I could see it being very, very popular. And the fact that it comes in at such a low price is even better, in my opinion. It gets a very, very cool design into the hands of a lot more people. And that's something that I always appreciate. So, that's what I like here. Let's go ahead and talk about what I don't like, because there are a few things about this knife that could be a little bit better. Alright, Kershaw Highball. What do I not like? Well, first off, the centering is very slightly off to the clip side. I mention that because it's something that bothers a lot of people. It's not so bad off-centered that I can't, that it's not rubbing, you know, the other scale. But, you know, it definitely is something to mention. Second thing, the clip, in my opinion, just isn't the best. I think they probably could put a better clip on here. The clip does kind of fit the aesthetic of the knife, but it could be better. And there's no lefty love. But let's see if I can Spidey flick this in my left hand. You might not be able to because your thumb will be on the clip, on the frame. There's not a whole lot of room in there. And I'm not left-handed. Maybe I'll have to get a left-handed person. I can't do it. I can't do it personally, but maybe someone can. Maybe this isn't a good knife for lefties. I don't know. But it would be kind of cool to see some lefty love. Second thing, I talked a little bit about or third thing, I think. I talked a little bit about the texture here. It's weird. It's really weird. And that's all I can say about it. It's just weird. Another thing that kind of is weird to me is, all right, focus. So you see on the pivot, to disassemble this knife, the female end is on the other side, but when it comes to body screws, the female end is on this side, and on this other side, you've just got that. And the other screw is actually under the clip, which means, well, actually you don't have to take the clip off to take this knife apart, I don't think. But still, I haven't taken this knife apart yet. But still, I never like seeing that, because when you're taking this knife apart, you have to unscrew this side, flip it over, and unscrew those, and when you're putting that together, sandwich it together, screw that in, flip it over, screw that stuff in. It's just a nitpick, and gosh, man, if you're in the knife community, man, we're a tough crowd to please. We complain about everything, but that's, I don't know, I guess that's the joy of a hobby. Next, access to the lock bar might not be the greatest for some people. I think it's good for me. You can see right there they do have it sticking out a little bit proud, but I did hand this knife to, someone else and let them play with it for a little bit, and they said it was a little bit hard to get in there. They have slightly bigger hands than me, so that is something to consider. And I already mentioned the fuller. When you're cutting, stuff can get caught in there. I don't think it's a huge deal. So, honestly, I think that's all the negative stuff I have to say about this knife. And that's really, really good. And with this knife, the Highball, I really think Kershaw hit a home run. Kind of a Nick Shabazz type pun. You're welcome. I think this knife is really, really fun. It's very unique. It's very functional. It's pretty. And I think this is a knife that a lot of people could be very happy with. And if you're on the fence about getting one, I mean, if you like the look of it, you like the idea of this, ball-bearing pivot frame lock knife that doesn't have a flipper or thumb studs or a thumb hole, pick it up. It's only $40. I mean, what do you got to lose? And I think that's the greatest part of this knife, is it's very unique and very fun at an affordable price point. And so this puts a unique design that you don't see very often in a lot of people's hands. And, I mean, the details of this knife are here. You can definitely tell someone thought about this knife. This knife feels more designed than, well, I mean, even if you, the Rat 1. This is a knife. I mean, you look up pocket knife in a dictionary, and there's that. Or even the Praxis is a knife that's just it's just a knife, the same as any other, And this knife here feels designed. It feels like someone really did sit down and work hard on designing it. And as far as I can tell, this is just designed by Kershaw's in-house designers, I think. Let me know if I'm wrong. Maybe, I'm not sure. But anyways, whoever designed it, they did a good job. And I hope to see more stuff like this from Kershaw coming on in 2021. And I'm really, really excited to see what we get. This is a great knife. If you're thinking about picking one up, go ahead and pick it up. I've been Gideon Stuff. Have a great day.